The Fog over New Brunswick, a medical mystery and the battle for truth. In the wooded stillness of New Brunswick, where the Atlantic air mingles with the scent of pine and the rhythms of life move at a slower, steadier pace, something strange began to stir. It started quietly, just a few patients scattered across the province, arriving at clinics with symptoms that defied easy explanation. They were young, often in their 30s or 40s, and previously healthy, but now they were forgetting names, stumbling over words, seeing things that weren't there. Dr. Alia Marrero, a neurologist in Moncton, was the first to notice the pattern. His patients weren't just suffering from memory lapses or anxiety, they were deteriorating fast. Some lost the ability to walk, others developed terrifying hallucinations. One woman, barely 30, began to believe her husband had been replaced by an imposter. Another man, once a vibrant outdoors man, could no longer recognize his own children. Marrero had seen neurodegenerative diseases before. But this was different. The symptoms were too varied, the progression too rapid, and the patients too young. He began to suspect that he was witnessing the emergence of something new, something dangerous. By 2019, Marrero had referred dozens of these cases to the Canadian Creutzfeldt-Jakob Disease Surveillance System, CJDSS, the federal body responsible for tracking prion diseases. The CJDSS, led by microbiologist Dr. Michael Coulthard, took notice. The symptoms resembled Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, rapid cognitive decline, myoclonus, ataxia, but none of the patients tested positive for known prion diseases. In December 2020, the CJDSS formally alerted New Brunswick's Chief Medical Officer of Health. 24 new cases had emerged in a short span, all with similar symptoms, none with a clear diagnosis. The phrase neurological syndrome of unknown cause, NSUC, entered the medical lexicon. Then, in March 2021, a confidential memo from the provincial health department was leaked to the press. It described a mysterious illness affecting dozens of people in the Moncton area and the Acadian Peninsula. The public, already weary from the COVID-19 pandemic, was gripped by fear and fascination. Was this the next great medical mystery or something more sinister? The province launched an investigation. Public Health New Brunswick, PHNB, conducted interviews with patients and families, trying to find a common thread. Was it something in the water, the food, the air? Dr. Marrero had his own suspicions. He began testing his patients for environmental toxins. The results were startling. 90% had elevated levels of glyphosate, a herbicide widely used in the province's forestry industry. The timing of symptom onset often coincided with peak pesticide application in late summer and early fall. Other theories emerged. Some pointed to blue-green algae blooms in local waterways, which can produce a neurotoxin called BMAA. Others noted that nearly half of the patients had consumed moose meat in the 2 years before their symptoms began. Could this be a new form of chronic wasting disease transmitted from cervids to humans? But the official investigation found no smoking gun. In October 2021, PHNB released its report. No common environmental exposure, no shared behaviors, no evidence of a new disease. The cases, they concluded, were likely misdiagnosed instances of known conditions: Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, psychiatric disorders. The report did little to quell the controversy. Patients and their families were furious. Many had been told they were suffering from a mysterious, possibly fatal illness. Now they were being told it was all a mistake. Dr. Marrero was incensed. He accused the province of shutting down the investigation prematurely, of ignoring evidence, of silencing dissent. He wasn't alone. Leaked emails from federal scientists revealed deep unease. Dr. Coulthard wrote that he had been cut off from the investigation for political reasons. Professor Samuel Weiss, a neuroscientist with the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, said the scientific effort had been shut down at the request of the governments. Behind the scenes, some suspected a cover-up. The Irvings, a powerful family with vast holdings in forestry, oil, and media, loomed large in the background. Critics alleged that the government feared the economic fallout of an environmental scandal and had chosen to protect industry over public health. In 2025, a new study published in JAMA Neurology sought to settle the matter. It re-evaluated 25 patients, including 11 autopsies. The findings were unequivocal. There was no evidence of a new disease. The patients had been misdiagnosed. Their symptoms were attributable to a range of known conditions, from progressive supranuclear palsy to metastatic cancer. The study's authors were blunt. Misdiagnosis and misinformation, they said, had become inextricably entwined, amplifying harm and eroding trust. They criticized the overuse of EEGs and SPECT scans, which had led to false positives. They noted that many patients had refused second opinions, choosing instead to remain with Dr. Marrero. But for many, the study raised more questions than it answered. Why had so many patients presented with such similar symptoms? Why had environmental testing been so limited? Why had federal scientists been sidelined? For the patients and their families, the debate over diagnoses and data was more than academic. It was personal. They had watched loved ones deteriorate, often with terrifying speed. They had endured confusion, fear, and isolation. And now, many felt abandoned, dismissed by the very institutions meant to protect them. Some turned to advocacy. Others turned to social media, where theories flourished. The term social murder began to circulate, a reference to Friedrich Engels' idea that systemic neglect and economic exploitation can lead to preventable deaths. In the eyes of many, the New Brunswick mystery was not just a medical failure, but a moral one. As of mid-2025, the province has pledged to complete its own investigation into the 222 cases referred by Dr. Marrero. A public report is expected soon. But whatever its findings, the damage may already be done. The New Brunswick brain disease mystery has become a case study in the collision of science, politics, and public trust. It has exposed the fragility of diagnostic certainty, the perils of institutional opacity, and the deep human need for answers, even when none are forthcoming. In the end, the truth may lie not in a single toxin or diagnosis, but in the complex interplay of biology, environment, and belief. And in the quiet towns of New Brunswick, where the forests still whisper and the rivers still run, the echoes of that mystery remain. If you have a mystery you think deserves a second look, or you just want to support the channel, like this video and join the investigation by subscribing. Stay curious, stay aware, and I'll see you on the next episode of Shadowline Mysteries.